Alright, hey guys, Legendary Narwhal back again. Today, a little bit of ramblings on Arcane Spec Mages, Arcane Specialization. This will not be about fire, this will not be about frost, won't really be about mages in general, and I'm not really going into the talents all that heavily. Most of the focus is just going to be pure Arcane. So, first of all, what Arcane Mages have been in the past. Very, very high damage dealers. A lot of people just get on Arcane Mage and it's two buttons. You Arcane Blast a lot until you have no mana, then you use Arcane Missiles, and then you evocate and you do it all over again. Arcane Mages now, I think their single target rotation is going to be pretty similar, but they're going to be able to do it better. Couple things. Arcane Blast, we have that just like before. Now, here, this is Arcane Charge. This is what gets generated by Arcane Blast, and now, as you can see below that, by Arcane Missiles as well. Prior to this, Arcane Missiles consumed your charges, just like Arcane Barrage did. So Arcane Barrage is still the same. Causes arcane damage at long range, it's an instant cast, you can move, it's a short cooldown, it's great. Not a lot of mana either, so that's a plus. Arcane Missiles. Okay, mana cost is free. Mana cost is free. That it is just like it was before. It didn't cost any mana before, doesn't cost any now, so it is still free to use. And they say, oh, you should use every time it activates. Well, okay, sure. The biggest thing, though, is because of this Arcane Charges, it generates a charge. The Arcane Missile damage goes up every charge, and it makes a charge, and it doesn't cost any mana. So with 4 charges, you can do Arcane Missiles with 4 charges for no mana, and it'll be doing 100% bonus damage. That's pretty good. That's very good. Arcane Blast continues to generate charges. Its damage increase will go up to 100% as well. However, its mana cost is also going to go up by a lot. It's going to go up at 4 charges. It'll be 500% more mana than what it is originally. Originally, it's 1,500. Now, at max stacks, it'll be 500% of that. So that's quite a bit of mana. Largest change is going to be to the AoE that Arcane Mages have. Prior to this expansion, the AoE rotation for an Arcane Mage was this. You'd go up, you'd do your Arcane Blast about 4 times, so you have your 4 stack. You would do Arcane Explosion about 2 times, maybe 3, depending on your haste, and then you would cast another Arcane Blast to keep up your stacks of your charge, because your charge affected the damage of your arcane abilities. Arcane Explosion was included in that, so your Arcane Explosion dealt bonus damage if you had charges. Therefore, it was much more efficient and did more damage if you kept a 4 stack and then did Arcane Explosion along with that, rather than just running in and spamming the button over and over and over again. So, but that was all they had. Their AoE wasn't really all that great. So now what you have is they have changed Arcane Barrage, and you probably already kind of read that as I was moused over this. Arcane Barrage consumes all charges. Okay, did that before. Damage goes up per charge. Did that before. 100% more at 4. And then it hits 1 additional target per charge. 1 additional target per charge. That stacks up to 4 times because of your charges. So, 1 additional target per charge. So say we have 4 charges. That's 4 charges, 4 additional targets. So what that means is if you have 4 stacks of Arcane Charge, and then you cast Arcane Barrage at 1 mob, it will duplicate 5 times. Your Arcane Barrage will still be flying towards the mob you targeted. However, 5 more copies of the spell will form, and for no mana, they will fly out to different targets. They cannot hit the same target. I have tested that. They cannot hit the same target, so you can't just get 4 charges, hit 1 button, and then have 5 Arcane Barrages flying out for just ungodly amounts of damage. You can't do that. but it's AoE, and it's much better AoE than what we've had previously. Now, you don't need to run into a pack and use Arcane Explosion over and over to do damage. You can sit back, you can do AoE at range now. It doesn't take that long to get up to 4 stacks. It's a very fast cast time on Arcane Blast. So once you have that, once you achieve those 4 charges, you can then hit Arcane Barrage to hit 5 targets. 5 targets total. Yours, and then 1 for each charge. That's 4, so that's 4 plus 1 is 5. Now, another thing is right here, this is Nether Tempest. This is not an ability of Arcane, this is a talent. It's right here in the 75 row. The 75 row is basically the bomb row, the bomb spec for a mage. You can take Frost Bomb, which is Frost AoE, you can take Living Bomb, which is Fire AoE, or you can take Nether Tempest, which is Arcane AoE. Alright, so there's that. Now, I'm not going to really go over any of these other talents. I'll just mouse my thing out of the way, so you can kind of look at them, and if you'd like, actually here, I'll mouse over each one briefly. If you'd like to read what they do in detail from going too fast, you can always pause. I'm not really going to bother explaining the ones that I picked. But yeah, so let's really quick keep on going. Ring of Frost. Ice Ward. Frostjaw is pretty cool. Definitely like that. Cold Snap was a huge nerf. It no longer resets Deep Freeze now. So Frost Mage DPS is really going to suffer for that. Okay, right here. Nether Tempest. So, as you can see, it deals damage over time. Each time it deals damage, an additional 50% of that damage is also dealt to a random target within 10 yards. So, every single time your Nether Tempest ticks, half of the tick damage will just hit a random person around it. Now, at first you're like, oh, well, that's not really all that great. You know, Living Bomb and Fire AoE, that's all a lot better. Not really. Living Bomb, you can clearly see the final line, limit 3 targets. There is no such stipulation here. You can place Nether Tempest on as many mobs as you want. So you could just cast this into mob after mob after mob in a huge crowd, and all of them would be taking damage, and then all of them would also be taking even more damage because every time it ticks, it would be throwing off half the damage to a random other enemy. And every single Nether Tempest would be doing that. So I would say, for Arcane Mage AoE, it is going to be much stronger than it has previously. If you have, say, 3 targets, like 1, 2, or 3 targets, I would guess that doing the 4 Arcane Blasts and then the Arcane Barrage, that will probably do more damage. Doing Nether Tempest on 2 to 3 mobs is probably going to be a waste of time. I don't know that yet. I have not really been able to do it all that much. As I mentioned in my Demonology Warlock rambling, I attempted to do a dungeon on my mage the other night. However, I wasn't able to. I got a 132 error after the first boss. But I will try and get a full recording of Temple of the Jade Serpent and put that up for you guys. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that after I end this recording. I'll probably just go straight into the queue, and hopefully it'll be full. If it's a full run, then you'll see the video. If it's not a full run, you won't see it. So you'll be left waiting, I guess. If there's any more than 4, though, 4 or more, it's probably worth it to use this spell. I will test that and see if that is really the case. Once Recount is all updated and everything, I will grab the folder, drag it into all of this, and then I'll have Recount over here, and that'll allow me to kind of test whether or not it'll be worth it. I do not profess myself to be a theory crafter. I don't even really claim to be all that good at a mage. I'm sure there are much better mages than me out there. There are much better theory crafters than me out there that have their own thoughts on what's going to be the best quote-unquote rotation you could possibly use. You know, there's all sorts of websites, Elitist Jerks, among others, that you can go to if you really want to discuss theory crafting in numbers. I'm simply saying what I believe is going to be the case from my knowledge of the game. I'm not running any numbers or anything like that. I'm not really running these ideas by anyone either. I'm just kind of saying it as it comes up. But that is basically the extent of an Arcane Mage. It really is 4 buttons, because I'm probably not ever going to use Arcane Explosion again because of the new Arcane Barrage. I will probably never bother to use this spell. So, essentially, you only need 4 buttons. If you really want to be cheap, you only need 3. You just need Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles for the free damage, and then Arcane Barrage to clear the stacks, and that also doubles as your AoE. You could play Arcane Mage with only these 3 buttons, and then like a couple cooldowns on your bar. Arcane Power, Mirror Image, Mana Gem, things like that. You don't need any of these other spells. You don't need any of these, you don't need any of this crap over here. Mages are very simple to play. However, I will say they are hard to play well. An Arcane Mage is very easy to play, but it's very hard to play well. Anybody can just get on and spam Arcane Blast over and over and over and do loads of DPS till your mana runs out. Great. But your mastery lets you do more damage the more mana you have. There is a little sweet spot on your mana bar that you kind of want to stay to do maximum damage based on spell output. I don't remember where that spot is, but that spot does exist. Some people say for a burn phase, okay, you just burn all the way down to like 30% mana or so, and then do Mana Gem Evocate to get back up. Just do a hold rotation, you could call it, where you don't max out your stacks, you try to not burn your mana at all, and then you do that until Evocation comes back up again. So I'm going to be very interested to see how Arcane plays out in the rest of this expansion. I will also be doing a rambling on Frost, because that is my other specialization at the moment. I could do one as fire. I mean, I can already talk about things like Inferno Blast and Combustion and that sort of thing. However, due to Blizzard not letting you switch specializations yet, I can't change to get fire right now. Before specializations, it was all talent-based. So if you went to a trainer, it's like, oh, let's reset your talents, boom. And then that included this, like Arcane Frost Fire. It's different now. Now talents is simply that. Resetting my talents will change these. That's all that it'll do. My specialization, Arcane and Frost, will not change. At the moment, you can't. I've heard people say, I think 2 more patches after this, and that'll finally be in. I'm not sure where they're getting the information, but that's what I've seen a lot of people talk about. So, closing remarks for Arcane Mage. It's going to be good. The AoE is going to be much improved. The single target even will be better because of the Arcane Missiles generating a charge as opposed to taking them away. That's going to give you much more damage than you will have had previously. You always had the 4 Arcane Blasts. That damage isn't going to change. It's going to be the same. However, you used to clear your stacks by doing Arcane Missiles. Now, your Arcane Missiles will not clear. It will generate a charge, maintaining your 4 charge stack. It is still free, so it doesn't matter, even though Arcane Blast would be 500% more cost. This will not. And it will get the bonus from the charge. It will be doing 100% more damage and not clearing your stack. Then you'll be able to do Arcane Barrage, which will also do 100% more damage and clear the stack. So your single target damage is going to go up. I believe your AoE damage will also go up quite a bit. It'll be much better. With the addition of Nether Tempest, that's something that we kind of needed. We needed some sort of AoE move. They kind of gave it to us with the new Arcane Barrage, but Arcane needed an AoE that wasn't Arcane Explosion, and now we have it. Okay, so that's awesome. Really quick, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about talents, but for the end of this, I do want to mention the level 90 row, just because I think that it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm really, really psyched to be able to level to 90 and get some of these talents. First, Invocation. As you see here, it says your Evocation spell no longer has a cooldown. That should instantly set off alarm bells in your head. I'll mention that in a moment, but you passively regenerate 50% less mana. Okay, that actually got buffed. The last time that I looked at this, it completely wiped out your passive regen by 100%. You did not regenerate mana at all, but your evocation had no cooldown. So they actually buffed it, so you do still have some. Now they also say completing an evocation all the way through will cause you to deal 30% increased spell damage for 40 seconds. 40 seconds is a very long time, and it's my belief that you're probably going to have this buff up all the time. I'm very excited for Invocation because it brings up an interesting playstyle where I can use as much mana as I want as long as I'm okay with taking up this channel time. If I'm okay with taking up this channel time here, boom, all the way down, if I'm okay with doing that, and then it's over, I will get a damage buff, and I will get a lot of mana. What I'm saying about it not having a cooldown, though, this is probably going to be changed. I think it's cool, but I guarantee that either this will change or this will change. Okay? So now, it says here, yes, with the Invocation talent, this healing is reduced to 20% of your health. It is reduced, that's good. If they left it on 60%, it would be just stupidly overpowered. Everybody would use it just all the time. Because if your evocation has no cooldown, you can basically just sit there and chain evocate to continuously regain HP over and over and over again. You'll top off your HP, you'll top off your mana. So it's going to be very dangerous for Blizzard putting something like this in. This is a dangerous move by them, as no matter how cool it is. With Invocation, it's reduced to 20%. Now, okay, they did cut 40% of it off, but we're still talking about you now have a move that will give you a 30% damage buff, also regenerate a massive chunk of your mana, and a fifth of your entire health bar. A fifth of your entire health bar, a damage buff, and loads of mana, and you can do that over and over. Okay? If you have a few seconds to just like stand in the back somewhere of any place, you could do this maybe 3 times, and you'd be at full health even if you were near death. So, I realize they have given it a slight nerf to go along with Invocation. I'm still a little bit worried about it. Next one, the Rune of Power. I like this. Other MMOs have already done things like this, things on the ground that you stand in to gain some sort of buff. Now, before people open their mouths and say, oh, well, we have Healing Rain, that's not what I mean. I don't mean things that you place on the ground and stuff happens to you like healing. Healing Rain already does that. WoW's had that for a little while. The Holy Priest is another one. Holy Priest with their chakra and their holy word. They have that thing that they put on the ground. I forget the exact name of it. But a little circle on the ground, you stand in it, you get heals. Druids, their Swiftmen ends up making efflorescence. Little green circle with pretty flowers, that heals you. I mean something like this that does mana regen and damage and stuff like that. So you cast this. You place it on the ground, lasts for a minute, okay, great. While you stand in it, your passive mana regen is increased by 100%. So your passive regen is going to skyrocket, it's doubled. Your spell damage is also increased, only by 15%. Now it says only 2 runes of power can be placed at one time. This replaces evocation, you will not have it. Keep that in mind. Your mana regen is going to double, yes. However, you are losing this spell. You will not have it anymore. There will be no way for you to gain all of your mana back. You will have to rely on standing inside the Rune of Power. Now, Glyph of Evocation changes it so that you gain 1% of your health per second, every second, while you stand inside the rune. I don't really believe that's going to be all that overpowered, and honestly I believe in PvP no one's going to take it anyway. The whole point of PvP, for the most part, especially if you're a squishy caster, when people are just going to run around you in a circle meleeing you, is you need to move. You need to get distance. If they get close to you, you need to move. You need to maintain that range that'll put you in your safe zone where they can't hurt you. This would involve you standing directly on a rune. It costs no mana. It's a relatively quick cast, and the cooldown is 10 seconds. This is something you'll be able to throw down relatively quickly and very often. So you can use this in PvP if you're okay with moving, posting in a spot for a little while, and then moving again. Okay. But it's probably not going to be that much of an issue. You're not going to want to stand still. You're going to get caught by people. This is mostly going to be a PvE move for when you're going to be in one place anyway. Boss encounters that don't involve movement, leveling. Maybe you see a whole bunch of ads. Okay, you find a spot where you can put this down and then chain pull one after the other, and you'll be very sustained while doing so. Last thing, after both of these, is we have Incanter's Ward. Now, this says places a magical ward on you, absorbing damage. Absorb damage will restore up to 15% of your maximum mana. When it ends, you gain spell power, based on how much you actually absorbed. It has a passive effect that's up all the time, except when you actually use the move. Increase spell power by 8, regenerates 1% of mana. 1% of mana it's about 2 seconds, 1.86. That's probably affected by my haste. I don't know what the base time of it will be. Now, this does not replace evocation. This changes evocation. This replaces evocation. This is in addition to evocation. Okay? This is probably what a lot of people are going to take in PvP. Mostly because you can throw this up on yourself, they'll do damage, and then you will gain bonus damage based on how much they did to you. This will probably be a big choice in PvP. Invocation will probably be the other choice. For PvE, no one's going to want to take Incanter's Ward. I almost guarantee it. No one's going to want that. But Rune of Power is going to look very attractive. Invocation also going to look very attractive. You can do as much mana as you want with Evocation. You gain a massive damage buff when you do the full thing to help make up for the uptime of Evocation when you weren't casting your damaging spells, so that kind of balances that out. This one is going to allow for more straight up uptime. I don't know which of these is going to be better. Rune of Power on one hand will let you cast damage moves all the time. Invocation will not. Invocation means you do need to evocate every now and then, but you gain 30% bonus damage. With this you do not. You only get 15. So I'm not sure which one of these is going to be better. The other thing is that it says only 2 runes of power can be placed at one time. What I would like to know, and one of the first things I will test as soon as I ding level 90, is I will take this talent and I will attempt to put down 2 runes of power directly on top of each other to see if their effects will stack, to see if it will then do mana regeneration increase by 200% and spell damage increase by 30%, 15 and 15. That would place its damage on par with Invocation, and the massive passive regen that it would give you would probably outweigh the need to use Evocation. So I'll test that eventually. I'm not able to do so at this time. That pretty much wraps it up for Arcane Mages, guys. I know the last little bit was about the talents, but it's alright. Need to talk about them anyway. I will be attempting to do Temple of the Jade Serpent, a full recording, probably by myself and probably on this mage. I'd love to do it on my Warlock. That is the most fun I'm having right now. Sadly, my Warlock is incredibly buggy. Demonology crashes a lot. So yeah, sadly I won't really be able to do that at this time. I may go and do a rambling on my Hunter. I did copy over a hunter, so I might do that. However, I do know one thing I'll definitely do is rambling on shamans for resto and for elemental. I may combine that into one video. I probably will. I will be making a separate video for frost, mostly because I'm trying to stop myself from stuffing my face with lunch right now. I'm incredibly hungry. I was working all morning, so I don't really want to do this right now because I'm very hungry. I'll come back to it though, I promise you guys. Alright, for now, that's the closing remarks for Arcane Mages. This is Legendary Narwhal. See you guys next time.